The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment.
Congratulations, Salt River Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 35364. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start just under the front bumper, where you'll find 2 tow hooks on the passenger and driver side frame rail. Moving up onto the face of the bumper on the passenger and driver side, you'll find dual air horns and also your electronic siren PA speaker. As we move toward the center of the bumper, you'll find your unit identifier 293. Moving up onto the bumper extension, you'll find a D handle which will gain access into a tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. Let's move up onto the cab. On the outer edge, you'll find a marker turn indicator just inside the headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. You'll also find directly in the center of the grille your mechanical siren, also emergency warning lights forward facing. As we move to the Pierce logo, directly under the Pierce logo is where you'll find the latch to gain access into the hood area. Moving up onto the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers. Moving out to the outer edge, passenger and driver side, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. As we move up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find your clearance lights located directly across the front window section. Just above the passenger and driver's side is where you'll find your forward-facing floodlights. Let's move up onto the aerial device itself, where you'll also find emergency warning lights forward-facing, and directly between the 2 of those emergency warning lights is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's take a look at some close-ups of those items that we just talked about, first starting with the bumper extension, air horn, and siren PA speaker. Directly in the center, once again, your unit identifier 293. As we look at the side view here in the next image of your bumper extension, you'll find directly behind that bumper extension a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up onto the top, you'll find D handle gains access into the tubbed storage location, where you'll find inside this area dry deck material and also a swivel discharge. Quick side view here, this is going to be at the very bottom section, your drain. And let's go ahead and take a look at the entire side of the vehicle. We'll start now with the cab of the vehicle on the driver's side. Let's start down at the tire area, where you'll find Alcoa wheels, Goodyear tires, and also an axle sight gauge. Let's move to the forward section of the cab, where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Just underneath that warning light is where you'll find your front bumper drain. As we move upward, you'll find the marker turn indicator light, and then just in the same vicinity, you'll find the side-facing camera. Let's move now to the door latches, where you'll find these are easily accessible with a gloved hand, and they are also keyed. Right next to those is where you'll find the grab handles for gaining entry and exit for firefighter safety. As we move directly over the front axle, you'll find your digital push button for your electric door locks, also shoreline power, and an emergency warning light. We'll go over those in just a moment. As we move to the front section of the aerial device, you'll find emergency warning lights. Over the cab is where you'll find emergency warning lights in a light bar. And then moving to the rear section, you'll find a side-facing floodlight. And then to the rear section of the cab wall, this is where you're going to find an additional emergency warning light. Right next to that, you'll find an LED water tank level indicator. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of those items that we just talked about. Let's first start with the electric door locks. To the right of that, you'll find the shoreline inlet, which is a 30 amp plug. We'll go ahead and now move around to the passenger side of the vehicle on the front section of the cab area. Same configuration as we just talked about on the driver's side. So let's go ahead and start with the front notch area, which is directly behind the cab area on the driver's side. In the upper portion, you'll find backboard storage and also your 2.5-inch discharge. As we look down, the release mechanism for that 2.5 is going to be located on the right to release the speed load. The 2.5 discharge is foam capable. Let's move downward from this location to the 2 additional discharges. These cross lays are going to be for the number 1 and number 2 cross lay. I would like to point out this entanglement hazard warning because of those lines coming from aloft. Let's move downward from this location to the notched area. First, we'll start on the left-hand side. There are two 2.5-inch discharges located here, ball valve and also gauge. As we move upward, you'll find your air inlet and control, and then also a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump inlet, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your inlet control. This is for the relief valve. As we move downward, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving just to the right, you'll find the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. It is a ball valve female inlet. Moving just to the right, an additional warning label here. If you're going to climb onto the vehicle, always make sure you're facing the vehicle while climbing. And then to the right, you'll find your foam operations for tank and draft. Let's take a look at some close-ups here. First, starting in the upper portion with the air supply and also inlet outlet. Moving to the right, you'll find inlet for your intake relief valve control module. Instructions are on that placard. As we move down, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move to the far right, you will also find a foam warning label. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Let's move now to the pump panel area. We'll start at the very top section here. At the very top, you'll find an LED light indicating that your pump is properly engaged. As we move down to the left, you'll find the white and black speaker. This is for your intercom system. Moving just to the right, the green module, which is going to be your foam tank A indicator. As we move to the gray module, you'll find all of our master intake and discharge gauges. You'll also find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Those are located down at the very bottom, and they are plugged and are for testing purposes. As we move to the right, you'll find your PCM fault. This is going to be an LED indicator, and then also just beneath it, an audible alarm. That bezel does allow you to rotate, dampening the sound. As we move down, you'll find your discharges. They are clearly color-coded and labeled, the red indicating that it is foam capable. As we move to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. It is a push-to-prime air prime, therefore at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. To the right, pressure throttle governor, and also internally you'll find a water tank level indicator. You'll also move down, you'll find the FRC. This is going to be your push-to-talk and volume control for your intercom. On the vertical panel, you'll find all of our lights, and also at the very bottom section, a different switch. It's the red air horn switch. Let's move back to the pump panel now. We'll first start in the upper left-hand corner. This is the passenger inlet. It's an electronic valve. And then moving to the right, you'll find the red module, which is your Husky foam system. There are instructions for its operations on the device itself. Moving to the right, you'll find your aerial discharge gauge and wheel valve. Moving down to the left, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. And right next to it, you'll find the tank to pump. As we move to the right, you'll find the apex. This is your large diameter passenger side discharge. This is an electronic valve. And then moving to the right, you'll find your Husky 3 foam system specifications and also instructions on these two placards. Let's move further down on the pump panel. We'll start on the left with your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in depth. And then also just beneath that, you'll find a warning: only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after you've received proper training. At the very bottom, once again, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move to the pan door, you'll find instructions for the operations for fill for the foam. The yellow handle in a vertical position or horizontal, the instructions are on the back of the door. You'll also find your manual pump shift in the lower section with a protected switch. Let's go back to that minimum operation maintenance schedule. First, starting in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find the 5-digit job number. You'll also find the GPMs, which are associated on the left. In the very center is the PSI for 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. On the right, the associated RPM. Let's take a look now of the truck with all compartment doors in the open section. We'll move through the body components next. All right, let's go ahead and start identifying a few items within the body component section. First, let's start at the very top section. This is a downward facing camera for your stabilizer. As we move also down, you'll find a lift and turn latch will gain access into the compartment directly over the stabilizer area. We do have a light located which is recessed for your stabilizer. And then also we have at the very top section, this is going to be the access point vented door here with also gas strut for opening and close. We do have some information here regarding danger electrocution hazard. Your vehicle is a non-insulated, therefore there is the possibility of electrocution. Also to the right, warning regarding crush hazard because of those moving items. As we move inside the compartment, you'll find the electrical G1, which stands for your generator control panel. This is for your continuous power supply. Moving just to the right of that location, you'll find the S1 and S1A breaker panel. And then to the right, for your Harrison generator, you'll find the control module located in the upper right-hand corner. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the compartments here. As we move down, you'll find dry deck material. In this compartment, it has a pull-out tray. The release lock mechanism is on the lower right-hand side. We'll move to the next compartment back. This happens to house a tool board. The D handle gains access to the rear section of the tool board. When that tool board is in the open position, it will lock into position. We'll go over that in a moment also. Also, you'll find the Blue Cap Ultra Low Sulfur Diesel. As we move toward the center in between the axles, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for up to 4 bottles. As we move back to the tool board, you'll find on the hinged side of that tool board is a release lock mechanism. It will lock into position, allowing you or requiring you to lift the release mechanism to restore back to its original position. As we move now to the DEF, this is going to be the Blue Cap. It just happens to be an 8.0 gallon DEF tank. As we move SCBA storage, the center does lift so you can gain access to the lower SCBA bottle storage. As we move now to the rear of the axle, you'll find the Silver Ultra Low Sulfur Diesel fill location. It's the Silver Cap. Let's move to the next compartment back where you'll find 2 trays. First, the upper section tray here is going to be a pull out and tilt down. There is a cable between the 2 release mechanisms. As we move to the very bottom section tray, release mechanism located on the right, it will lock into position. Moving further down, you'll find your stabilizer pads. Now moving up into the compartment, you'll also find shoreline and generator outlet. There are 4 locations here. A couple images here with the tray in the outright and tilted down position. And then also the tray at the very bottom section in the pulled out and locked position. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some more of those warning indications. Once again, danger placard and also warning placard. Once again, electrocution hazard. Your equipment is not insulated. Also warning regarding crush injury. At the very bottom section, you'll find the www.saltriverfire.org indication. At the very top section, this is the stabilizer camera. And then just beneath that, you'll also find a warning regarding when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle when climbing onto it. As we move now to the rear of the apparatus, we'll individually identify all the items in this area. Let's first start on the left-hand side of the image with the rear scene light. This is a switch to control that. As we move just to the right of this location, you'll find a crush hazard injury placard. You'll also find the aerial waterway open and close. And then also you'll find to the right a warning regarding fall hazard. Never ride on the vehicle while it is in motion. Few more identifying things in the rear section. Pan door gains access here to our stabilizer control module, emergency stop, override, stabilizers, and a diagnostic interface. Control module is going to be on the 15-foot cord. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ladder compartment storage. They are going to be stored vertically. As we look to the ladder compartment storage, we'll start on the left-hand side. You'll find a 24-foot 2-section, 10-foot folding, and a 14-foot 2-section. Let's move to the right where you'll find a 35-foot 2-section, a 16-foot roof. You'll also find long-handled tool storage in the center area. As we move to the right side, you'll find the hose chute, And then also on the right hand side you'll find hose bed lights. This is a switch for that chute. As we move down to the very bottom section, a couple more warning labels. Once again, danger, electrocution hazard. Equipment is not insulated. To the right, you'll find a warning regarding direct pull on this access. And then to the further right side, you'll find a warning regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Let's move further down into this area where you'll find at the very far left, which is the aerial inlet. There's also a gauge for that aerial inlet. As we move downward from that location of that aerial inlet, you'll find a right to left stabilizer information for the inclinometer. Green indicating operationally, yellow on the outer edge, and red do not operate. Into the very far right hand side, you'll find a pan door will gain access to the aerial drain. As we move to the upper portion now, we're on the passenger side of the vehicle, you'll find additional shoreline power outlets and generated power outlets. Down below, you'll find the release mechanism for that tray. Let's go back up to the top. Once again, 20 amp shoreline and generator outlets. As we move to the bottom section with the tray in the open position, once again, that will pull all the way out and lock into position, allowing you to push the lock on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and move through the rest of the compartments here on the passenger side next. Just to the front and rear of the axle area, you'll also find additional pan door for storage locations, either SCBA bottles or SCBA packs. You'll also find in between the two axles an additional storage location. As we move to the upper compartment area, you'll find an outlet, once again generated power or shoreline power. In between the two axles, you'll find additional storage location. Lift and turn latch will gain you access into these lower compartments. Also SCBA and oxygen bottle storage in the front axle area. As we move to the next compartment forward, you'll find adjustable shelving and also a pull-out tray in the lower section. You'll also find the cord reel rewind. This is for your 200-foot 20 amp electrical cord, which is just above this location. Would like to point out extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operation. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. Moving through the rest of the compartments within this area, directly above the exhaust area is where you're going to find a pull-out tray. Once again, the release mechanism located on the lower right-hand side, and once again, it will lock into position. Directly above this area, or above the stabilizer area, you'll find a lift and turn latch will gain you access into that 200-foot cord reel. This is a twist lock cord reel. And as we move to the notched area, we'll go and find at the very top section, same configuration as you have on the driver's side. This is going to be the 2.5-inch discharge, foam capable, and then also you'll find right next to it backboard storage location. As we move downward from this location, you'll find the 2 cross-lay discharges, also a warning regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Let's move further down into the notch area. We're on the passenger side once again. Down on the left, you'll find a warning here regarding when climbing onto the vehicle. It's important to face the vehicle while climbing. Move to the right, you'll find your large diameter passenger side inlet, and then also you'll find a warning regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move down to the left here, you'll find the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a ball valve female coupling. And down at the very bottom, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move to the right, you'll find an override. This is for the large diameter discharge because this is an electric valve. It's required to have an override for that valve. And then to the right, your large diameter discharge. A couple close-ups down at the very bottom. Once again, color-coded and labeled discharge drains, and then also your 2.5-inch auxiliary. To the right, you're going to find that override, and then also your large diameter passenger side discharge. Let's go now inside the cab area. Let's start first with the driver's side. Affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information, door lock and latch, also electric window controls, and a grab handle. As we move inside the cab area, I'll point out this yellow placard at about the right ankle of the operator. This is the placard for your vehicle. It has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, has the VIN number, all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Extremely helpful for your maintenance team. As we move to the base of the seat area, you'll find when plugged into shore power, your auto charge status center will indicate the battery amperage. Moving now into the cab area, let's start first general view here of the cab. We'll take a look inside. Over the operator's forward section on about the left-hand side of the operator, you'll find this placard indicating the height of the vehicle, 12 feet 5 inches, the length 47 feet 6 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 84,000 pounds. You'll also find the 5-digit job number. Let's move just to the right where we'll find some switches. First, let's start with emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and Opticom. These are membrane switches, therefore when you push the switch, the outer edge of that light switch will illuminate when it's active. As we move further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor, some additional switches located just to the right for the front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, front basket flood, electronic siren, siren brake for your mechanical siren, and then also a load manager on or off switch. Let's take a look to the right where you'll find directly in the center a speaker and then also your unit radio. As we move just underneath that area, you'll find your do not move your apparatus when this light is on, indicating you have a compartment open. Directly over this area, you'll find your siren control and PA speaker system. Let's take the dash out now, first starting on the left with the hazard, ignition, and start switch. You'll also find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. It will engage and disengage all emergency warning lights. To the right, you'll find your headlight switch and also panel switch. And further to the right, you'll find the high idle, engage, indicator, and switch. As we move up to the top, you'll find the transmission, oil, def level, and water temperature. On the right, you'll find volts, fuel, front and rear air, tachometer and speedometer located directly in the center. They're the large two gauges. And you'll find diagnostic information about your vehicle above and below the speedometer. Let's move downward into the area of the operator space. First, on the left-hand side, you'll find diagnostic and regen information. Just above that location, you're going to find your master battery switch, which is the red quarter turn. And then just to the right, you'll find your interaxle differential lock. Let's move to the floorboard area. You'll find a foot pedal. This is your air horn. Let's move just to the right of the driver's space. We'll start on the left-hand side of the image. The large screen is going to be your command zone. Tremendous amount of information for the operator right here at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more information. Also, just to the right of that, your Allison transmission pad, push button, digital readout. As we move to the right, we have some additional switches for the aerial master, aerial generator PTO, stabilizer cameras, stabilizer scene lights, platform leveling, future switch locations, and a generator on and off switch. Let's move down and we have some function switches here for engine brake on and off, settings for that engine brake for low, medium, and high, the retarder on and off switch, retarder auto apply, off-road traction, and then to the very far right is the mirror heat switch. Let's move further to the right of the operator space where we'll find first the pump pressure. It's a digital readout. Then to the right you'll find water level tank indicator and also foam tank level A indicator. Let's move further down from this location to the switches below those we just talked about. First, stationary OK to pump and roll indicator, water pump, foam system, and comm equipment, and also front wheel lock. You'll also find some caution and warning information regarding disengage the retarder when on wet or slippery surfaces, and then also a warning, always engage parking brake and running the front wheel lock. At the very front section, you'll find climate control for heat, defrost, and air conditioning for both front and rear. Also, mirror controls for flat and convex mirror on the passenger and driver side. General view here of the entire dash layout. And we'll take a look toward the rear. You'll find the 2 forward-facing and 2 rear-facing seats. Let's move now exterior to the rear section of the cab. We'll start first at the door panel area with all of our safety and warning information placards affixed to the door panel. Door lock, latch, and also window control and a grab handle. As we move inside the cab area, let's take a look at the ceiling area where you'll find push on and off white or red lens lights. You'll also find roll-up compartment door on the outer edges, both passenger and driver side rear wall. As we move to the forward section, you'll find 2 rear-facing seats. As we move in between those rear seats, this is going to be on the driver's side. You'll find your battery charger. You'll also find your speaker with volume control on the speaker face for the backup camera. 12-volt access, and then also your air compressor to maintain brake pressure while parked. As we move to the opposite side to the officer position, you'll find directly behind that location your unit radio module and also 12-volt access. Let's move to the rear section of the notch of the engine. It's where you're going to find your access for your daily checks for oil and transmission. On each side of those, you'll find USB charging locations, 12-volt access. As we move to the rear, once again, 2 forward-facing seats on the outer edges, 2 EMS compartments, roll-up compartment doors, dry deck material inside those compartments. Directly above, you'll also find compartment storage on the passenger and driver's side. As we move inside those compartments, you'll find LED lighting and then also a fan located in the very rear section of the wall. Let's move now around to the passenger side officer space. Once again, affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information placard, door lock and latch, window control, and grab handle. As we go inside this area, general view around the interior. Let's go directly over the officer position head where you'll find forward facing. This is going to be the Bluetooth, Sirius XM, CD player, AM FM weather band radio. You'll also find front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, and howler deactivate switch. Moving to the front section of the dash. The very bottom section, you'll find foot pedal controls for emergency devices. We'll talk about those in a moment. We do have a warning placard here regarding not blocking this area because your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag. Do not mount anything within this area. As we move downward to the floorboard, you'll find your air horn, howler, and mechanical siren foot pedals. As we move to the upper left-hand side of the dash area, find siren brake and also a push-to-talk for your unit radio. Computer mount via the Havas system in the upper right-hand corner of the dash area. And as we move to the left, you'll find 12-volt access via USB style. And then also to the very front section of this area is where you're going to find your vehicle data recorder port located in the forward section near the air conditioning vents. Let's go ahead and move exterior now of the vehicle. We'll start with some of the ladder functions. Let's start first with the pedestal general identification on the top of the lid, warning, safety information, also 1911 placard, and also all of your weights and capacities for your aerial device. In the forward section, you'll find an emergency stop button. You'll also find lighting control, and then also you'll find the visual screen on the far right-hand side. This is your command zone. Once again, tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. Also, you'll find nozzle control, and then toward the center area, you'll find your ladder control modules for extend, retract, right and left, and lower and raise. At the very uppermost section, you'll find your intercom, push-to-talk, and volume control, and then also your aerial inlet control. Let's take a look at some close-ups. First, starting on the left, aerial waterway control on the right, intercom system on the left-hand side, emergency stop, manual basket leveling, and then all of your lights and aerial speed and hydraulic emergency overrides. Down to the very bottom, once again, nozzle control and ladder control. As we look to the lid, you'll find all the information here on these placards, danger and warning information, but I would like to point out the specifications for setup per NFPA 1911 testing on the left. On the right-hand side, you'll find waterway dry and waterway charged information regarding your ladder device. Down at the very bottom, you're going to find monitor nozzle position, and down at the very bottom section, you'll find a few asterisks in regards to capacities, especially during icy conditions. As we move down on the aerial pedestal, you'll also find maintenance and calibration information, breathing air, We're going to go through some general pictures now just to identify a few items within the aerial device itself. Obviously the front bucket, what we just looked at, directly to the rear of those you'll find additional compartment storage for SCBA masks and hoses. You'll also find your intercom system, push to talk on that also. As we move now looking to the rear section, you'll find your 3-section ladder. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the additional warning placards located within this area. First, we do have some fall and tip over information here. Also, you'll find just to the right, once again, your ladder is non-insulated for electrocution, electrical shock. You'll also find the 1911 placard and all of your load capacities located on this placard, and then also general safety warning and danger placard information. You'll also find the waterway dry, waterway charge located at the pedestal area and also at the front section of the aerial bucket. There is also breathing air located in the uppermost section of the bucket, chainsaw scabbard location, and then as we move around, you'll find the latches to gain access in and out of the aerial device. As we move to the forward section, we'll identify a few items within this area. Let's first start on the very far left-hand side of the image, starting at the front with the front basket lights, under basket lights, and also rear basket lights. As we move down, you'll find nozzle control for lower and raise, right and left, or stream fog. As we move to the very top section, you'll find a push button for the emergency stop. You'll also find an aerial speed for slow, normal, and fast. And down at the very bottom section, you'll find your manual leveling for your basket. As we move just to the right, you're going to find ladder function controls. First at the top, you'll find extend, retract, right and left, and lower and raise. That device is movable from any location in your bucketed area. To the right, you'll find your command zone, and then also you do have 120 VAC 20 amp outlets located in the bucket area. Breathing air and also audible warning device on the left, the outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. You can see on the door itself, this is a mount for your manual controls for your raise, lower, extend, retract for ladder controls. As we move to the warning regarding here, this is for the life winch, life ladder, life support, and life eye. Let's move to the front section exterior of the bucket area. You'll find your master stream device, a fog, and also smooth. As we move to the outer edges of the main ladder, you'll also find storage locations. We do have 2 of these, one on the passenger and one on the driver's side. We do have a minimum capacity of 75 pounds within these compartments. Also, make sure that the lids are closed in aerial operation. We do have the ladder in the upright position. We'll go ahead and identify a few things. We have the outrigger set now. We'll go ahead and identify a few things within this area in the uppermost section, which is just underneath the aerial device. First, attached to the pedestal area, you'll find your breathing air. There are 2 tanks located here. As we move to the center section, you'll find hose storage location. Also, you'll find the top fill location for your water tank. You'll also find top fill location for your foam tank A. We do have a warning label here regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. You'll also find right next to the foam tank is the fill location for your hydraulic oil. In the dunnage area, you'll find your Harrison generator and also Husky 3 foam system pump. Let's go ahead and take a look at the under section of the front of the apparatus. We'll first start with the bucket area. To attach to the rear wall, you'll find a pole light. Also emergency warning lights on the side. As we move just underneath in the bottom section of the bucket area, you'll find attachment points. There are 2, one on the passenger and driver's side frame rail of the ladder. You'll also find a downward nozzle. Forward of that location, you'll find your drain, downward facing LED lights, and then also bumpers located on the right and left side. just a different view from the next image. This is from the forward section. And then I've got a short video here of the vehicle now with all your emergency lights on. Congratulations, Salt River Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce aerial ladder, job number 35364. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.